We are now done with the Canyon Country and Lake Amistad. The terrain here flattens out, there's more people, and a border wall already exists along most of the towns and cities. But the open country doesn't have a wall yet, so we met up with rancher Steve LaMantia to see how it would affect his operation.
Water in this part of the country is life, so water is very important to us. Without the water, we can't operate. My name is Steve LaMantia. I am in charge of a ranch operation. Basically been on the river or on the border my whole life. But for the longest time, we always considered Mexico and the U.S. as one and no division because there was such a fluid movement of people back and forth. My wife and my children grew up with kids from Mexico, and going back and forth to Mexico was like going across the street. People don't really understand the border, I think, that are talking about it. They don't take the time to come down here and look at it.
So the border rely on the Rio Grande River for agricultural and residential use.
No question.
Oh, audio, I do not own in the
It may
background.
not be a good idea to wall ourselves away from the only good water in the desert.
That would be a pretty good assessment.
Okay.
All rights to it's respectful whoever it owns to.
There is a labor pool here that is not being satisfied and can be satisfied by immigrants coming to this country, which has happened for 250 years. If that is happening, which I think is
Is there any
happening
tea
right
in my
now,
cup?
then I
Is
see no
there any
reason
tea
why
in
it
my
shouldn't
cup? Did I pour
continue,
any?
and I see no reason why those people need to be here under the radar.
Okay,
And maybe I'm not smart enough to understand the problem. But if there's a need for the labor and they come over here and they are working and holding down a job, then why don't we want it?
In the 1940s, as a result of World War II, we had a system called the Bracero program, where Mexican farm laborers were coming over and they were working in American fields while our U.S. men were abroad fighting in Europe and our American women were in factories.
The fact is, but we still don't have enough seasonal domestic labor willing to do this kind of work.
In 1965, the Bracero program officially ends. But that doesn't mean that these patterns that were established end. So the agricultural interests kept asking for the labor, and the labor kept coming.
This bill is the most comprehensive reform of our immigration laws since 1952.
86, Reagan passed immigration reform control,
including employer sanctions, other measures to increase enforcement of the immigration laws, and legalization.
What happened was that the key component of employer sanctions was never put into place. It was illegal, but everybody, wink, wink, nod, nod, this is going on. Fast forward to the early 1990s, immigration becomes a flashpoint.
There is too much of it, and we must do much more to stop it.
And at this point, we see what we know as the modern day border infrastructure. Not just physically, but also in terms of personnel. As a result, it was harder for immigrants to go back and forth. And once they were there, they weren't going to leave because, again, every year the border got harder and harder to cross. So now we have this larger permanent undocumented population in the United States.
1 million unauthorized immigrants. That's it. Estimate.
This is the first wall we've seen since just outside of El Paso.
The wall that's right there, that was built in a Secure Fence Act during the Bush administration, so it's probably 10 years old now. And the wall that they're calling for, that President Trump wants to build, is going to be probably 10 feet higher than that, solid concrete, so you wouldn't be able to look through it. And then also to have these massive floodlights that look into the river and along, and then they would clear out all the brush and all the vegetation and trees.
Oh, you mean like a prison wall?
One of the things that's unfortunate that we've noticed, this is Mexico on our right, this is the U.S. on our left, and we have forfeited all this land to become no man's land, which means that nobody from the U.S. side is enjoying this river right now except for us. And all the Mexican side is fishing, throwing parties. You can hear people playing soccer. Families are out, walking around, enjoying the river. And it's obviously very much a part of life in this section of the Rio Grande. And how sad is that? Nobody from the U.S. side can enjoy this beautiful, pristine river right now. A wall completely deters any recreational activity from the Rio in this stretch.
Get a little bit closer.
Growing up an illegal immigrant, every single day you live in fear. You feel that your options are limited, that there's so many things stacked against you that you can never outgrow your environment. And therefore, the situation that you're in will always remain. But because of our financial status, not having a lot of money, when my mom would tell us to go do something, it was get the hell outside. It doesn't cost anything to go run around outside, to go get lost in the woods, to climb a tree, to go look for animals. The natural world saved me. So becoming a wildlife photographer and working with National Geographic was my goal in life.
So Nat Geo's Jeff Daniels here. Nat Geo, come on up. To announce the Wild to Inspire.
Here you go. But the winner for the second annual Wild to Inspire competition is Billy
Whether it be through photography, video, everything that I do comes back to making the world a better place for animals.
I have to thank my mom because for everything that we've been through as immigrants, abuse, coming over here, struggle, every single thing.
I'm so grateful that she brought us here and that I get to travel the world and talk about what I love. My mom is by far and large my greatest example. When she became a citizen, I asked her, what do you want to do? And she said, I want to be a nurse at the VA. I want to take care of veterans who took care of us. And that is my contribution to the country that I am now a citizen. And that makes me so damn proud.
You've been tracked for being in, crap bitch.
so many.
What's up, Sammy? How are you? Good, man. Nice to meet you. Yeah, Ben Master. We hadn't gotten to talk to anybody on the camera. Can you do that?
So the only reason I can do that is because I told you, I'm with the union of Del Rio sector, so on behalf of the union I'm talking to. I've been in the Border Patrol for 9.5 years. I am a executive vice president of the Del Rio sector union. If we put a wall up and see the shining sea, people are still going to cross it. I've been detailed to Nogales, and there's a wall from downtown Nogales. People cross it, go over it, go through it. There's more damage that's done to the wall, with just the willpower of people just trying to get across.
Do you think it's something that, if it doesn't happen in the next 3 years, will continue to be raised as a potential solution?
The wall's always going to be a topic of discussion. I think it's always going to be continuing to be raised as a deterrent of guys crossing. They're not the solution to the immigration problems. Because there's more than just a wall. If you've got ants coming inside your house, we've already got walls. We're finding a way to get in. So we've got to find out the solution and look at it.
Do you fix that with technology? Do you fix that with more boots on the ground? In your opinion, what's the solution with response time?
You have all the technology you need, but you don't have anybody to put handcuffs on anybody. Well, the question as far as the aliens, the technology is great because we detected them, but we didn't have anybody to arrest them.
See, have you noticed a drop-off or an increase in people coming over to the U.S.?
The numbers are down, have decreased.
Significantly, or, really?
Clothes are more than just laundry. They're what you live your life in, which is why Downy does more to make them softer, fresher, and better. Because it's just a blanket, until you bundle your new favorite person in it. Just a hoodie, until it's felt by your first love. Just a jacket, until it's the smell that brings you back home when you're far away from home. And that's why Downy does more than just soften and freshen your clothes. Downy breathes life into your laundry.
Febreze. Hi. I keep my home fresh with Febreze Fade to Fight Plug.
And I use this.
Febreze has a microchip to digitally control how much scent is released so it doesn't fade.
Oh, does mine have a microchip?
Oh, Febreze smells first day fresh for 50 days.
That's a shockingly long time.
Febreze also has a refill reminder light.
It even reminds you to refill it?
So I never miss a day of freshness. Your home is so fresh. Upgrade to Febreze Plug. La, 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 la.
It's that little spin out you're showing off there.
The deputy made themselves known.
Absolutely, you can hear them from a mile away. Oh my gosh, is that a catfish? That's probably like a 40. Oh my gosh, both of those. Hola, ¿cuánto pesan? 8 cada uno. ¿Ya cuánto llevamos por aquí? Wow. Menos un día pescando por eso.
Nosotros, pescadores malos.
Es nuestro trabajo Nosotros nos entregamos a las pescaderías de Piedra Negra.
¿Tú quieres comer pescado de gato? Pescado de gato. Catfish.
That's about right. Es un tipo que solamente tiene aquí.
Todo el río.
Todo el río.
Pero a nosotros si nos miran pescando allá. A nosotros si nos miran de qué lado si nos llevan. Para que somos mojados, todo eso.
Ustedes como mexicanos y sus amistades y amigos aquí en México, ¿cómo ven el muro?
Vuelan por arriba como super.
¿Y han visto muchos cruzando por aquí?
Sí, bastante gente. Con droga también.
Droga. Pero la necesidad de la droga está allá de Estados Unidos. No van a parar.
Ten mucho cuidado, padre, guerrero, para allá.
Eso están diciendo. ¿Cómo anda todo por aquí? ¿Tranquilo?
Aquí está bien tranquilo, pero allá me afecta.
¿Pero vienen bien armados o...?
Sí.
The narco-traficantes in northern Mexico are making roughly, and this is a conservative number, $50 billion. That's almost the equivalent of the entire budget for the intelligence community in the United States of America. To make $50 billion, you're not bringing it in, in a backpack alone. You're bringing it in significant weight, and that's happening through our ports of entry.
All of this is connected. All of this is correlated. If you look at the billions of dollars that we spend on consuming illegal drugs in this country, we can see the connection between our use of illegal drugs, the cartels' bottom line, the resources that they can bring to bear on hollowing out the civil institutions, whether that's the courts, whether that's the press, whether that's the police force, whether that's their politics. Destabilizing that country to such a degree that it's hard to argue with somebody who would seek to leave it to find a better life somewhere else. Ironically, here in America, the country that is in part producing some of the problems with the consumption of those drugs, the flow of cash and arms back into Mexico.
So against everybody's advice, we are paddling into the night, which I'm not too comfortable about because this is a fairly wide drug trafficked corridor of the U.S.-Mexico border. But we're trying to get to a location where we have permission to stay at, and I don't know where everybody else is. Like I don't know if they took a different channel of the river, if they're in front of me, or if they're behind me. It's kind of a bad time to get separated.
Hey, Heather. Bugs.
So there's a reason why we honestly are concerned about this. One, it's dark. 2 weeks it's gonna cross it.
I think there's people over on the balcony.
It looked like they were throwing bags and stuff. Yeah, when we looked down, we saw groups of people. Because we thought it was
Ben.
Yeah.
I was about to yell out, and Jay said, "Hold up, don't say anything." He was right. It was people over there. Definitely not Ben. They were definitely throwing bags of stuff back.
When Border Patrol and everybody that lives on the river said, "Don't do the river at night," because that's when most people are going to be crossing.
Like, I think making ourselves known being here is probably a good thing. I don't think approaching them is a great idea either, but you don't want to, like, sneak up on them by any means.
I know.
But that's when you run into a bad situation, either drug smugglers or people trying to cross. Either way, you don't want to be in the middle of that, and that's exactly where we're at right now.
So you guys are definitely ahead of us. And we're gonna start going forward towards you with our lights on.
Alright, we're gonna stay put, and then we'll have our lights on here as well. And just be careful.
So there's their lights. Fix their lights. Good.
So we should get out of here. Like as soon as possible. And then getting down and camping as soon as we see a camp spot.
Okay. We were just discussing briefly, like, should we let tell Scooby order the girl or just go?
Yeah, we should call Stevie and let him know.
Okay.
If
Yeah.
something happens to us.
Yeah. No,
Like,
deal. You got the number? You got this?
It's like we stopped. If we would have ran this right here, we would have seen people.
I don't like this at all. If they were right there, if they all just stopped right here,
No,
I mean, well, let's get the front so we didn't know if you guys were behind us.
all right. Good timing.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I jumped to immediate bad conclusion. You guys said backpacks and people crossing. First thing that came to my head was running drugs. Like the very first thing that popped into my head.
And they might have been, but
Could have been.
but we don't know that.
Well, it's such a conundrum because, like, the people that are crossing, you know, under different circumstances, that could have been you. Or you.
Yeah, and that is the predicament. Like, I was sitting there and I was like, if those are families or people trying to make a better life for themselves, I don't want to call.
Or
If those are drug
future
smugglers,
wildlife.
I do want to call. Well,
I talked to my parents about it and told them we came upon some people and, well, they asked me, what were they wearing? What were they doing? This or that. Kind of described the situation. And they asked us what we did. And I was like, well, we called Border Patrol. And they understood. They got it. And they said, oh, man, poor people.
Easy, baby.
They said that was them 30 years ago. Guatemala, they were making $3 a day. They were living in a little room. Them and my older brother, my dad, we had family members and friends who had either been, harassed, mugged, or killed. I mean, it was genocide. My mom, she was very willing to do whatever she had to do to get over here. She tried to come over a couple times. Someone had snitched on her. Mom and my older brother were locked up in Mexico when they got caught by immigration there in Mexico. Mom would ask to work in jail so she could get money and food to feed my brother while they're in jail. I don't want to discredit the crossing of the river. It is significant. But my parents my family felt that fear the entire time. And they still felt that fear years after crossing. When I was first born, there was probably 15 of us in one house. It was tough. My parents, they heard this radio announcement about people helping illegal immigrants get the residency, but they have to report themselves and state that they're there illegally. My mom, she began crying immediately, and they're like, we need to deport you now. in my parents' eyes, the American dream were to send 3 kids to college and have enough to make a living and be satisfied. And they've exceeded that. I'm no longer embarrassed of who I am, where I come from. I'm very proud of my parents. Very proud. And hopefully, one day I can pay him back.
Today is a big day. We are switching from canoes to bicycles because we're now in an area where there's a wall, but the wall is so far away from the river that you can't even see it from the river in some spots.
Let's ride! Dave Masters is a determined, dedicated, uncoordinated son of a gun. He is so great for so many reasons, but coordination is not one of them. And seeing him on the bicycle after paddling and being on a horseback is one of my greatest joys of life. He's so bad on a bicycle. But dang it, he's doing it.
The lower Rio Grande Valley has the most illegal crossings and drug traffic along the U.S.-Mexico border. It already has some existing border wall and is priority for future wall construction. The Rio Grande here twists and turns, but the border wall will be built on straight lines, on levees and irrigation canals, sometimes miles from the border, effectively stranding American land between the river and the wall.
Are you all doing dry land or irrigation?
All irrigated, all the water coming out of the Rio Grande River. Our river pumps are on the banks of the Rio Grande River. We will have to go through the wall, get to our pumps, which is the lifeblood of the irrigated farm. The concern is we're giving up a tremendous amount of area that is some of the most productive farmland in the world. Alluvial soils on the Rio Grande River with a 365-day growing period. So there's a lot of impact south of where they're going to place the wall. Where is the border? Is the border on the river or is the border at the wall? Because there's 3/4 of a mile difference. I don't want it to be just a one-time photo op, and then my kids and grandkids and future generations have to live with their farm being cut in half.
Once the wall goes up, that's it. You can't redo it. You can't undo it. And I think it's easy for people in Washington, D.C. to make decisions without having some input from the people who actually live here. There's just something kind of un-American about it to me. And it's all part of the United States. When they talk about Homeland Security, we're part of the homeland.
The wall will be on this side of the river road, of the levee road.
So either one of them sounds fun. Doesn't matter to me.
I got one dish, so can you do some dishes and build a vertical.
I was waiting for you to bring some back because I didn't freaking get it because there was nothing here.
Family, it's 500 acres. For Southside, it's 2,000 acres.
And I already knew you were gonna ask me anyway.
You got over 3,000 acres.
You doing dishes?
I'm doing.
Well, Mama can do it when she gets home. Because David says that means I'm doing it when Mama gets home. Huh?
Mom will get $100 in poop today.
$100 for the commission. She got 10,000 today. 11,000 today.
For the money that comes out too.
Oh, okay.
Andreas didn't come in. Keith, Normandy worked. I called him the second time and I was really annoyed with him because things aren't being priced right. That means things don't get sold. But Andreas, she called in today. So even though we're not
It's
supposed
kind
to
of crazy
do it,
down here.
because we were so
Getting
short-staffed
estimates
and
of
it was a
the
Sunday,
number
Janine and I
of individuals
everything.
because you have these
Right
huge
down the middle.
flocks flying
Any
over
sale,
and swarms of
that way
swallows.
you can help everybody.
I'm trying to estimate how many individuals you're seeing. It's crazy.
Yes, there's 4 pieces of yellow.
In my bird survey along the entire Rio Grande,
So
I detected over 150 species. There's such a huge diversity. The bird community in the Rio Grande Valley is completely different. Many of these are species that you wouldn't see anywhere else in the U.S. It's the biggest birding destination in the country. You just woke up here, just listen to it.
Well, yeah, well, he doesn't understand. He understands it. He just doesn't want to freaking like let it go. That he's like like.
The Rio Grande Valley is one of the most critical habitats for birds, butterflies, and bats in North America. This subtropical habitat that is really nowhere else in the United States. The Rio Grande Valley is along different migratory routes for birds, butterflies, and bats. There's this huge collaboration between public and private organizations, and they've linked this string of pearls, this native habitat along the Rio Grande, to preserve this area for native species. The border wall would be built along the levee with an enforcement zone. In this region where there's only 5% of remaining native habitat, this enforcement zone would be bulldozing a sizable portion of what's left. In a flood situation, terrestrial animals could get caught up in floodwaters. Having the border wall, species like the Texas tortoise and ocelots could die in these rising floodwaters because there wouldn't be any way for them to escape.
Well, in fit theory, it could be a possible fact.
It could become a death trap. It occurred to me along the journey that in some of these areas there may have never been a formal bird survey, and there may never be another one done before it's changed forever. I felt honored and to see the area before that, but also saddened by the fact that it may soon change.
I think when people use that term, there are some that do believe it needs to be structured. I do believe there's others that want to see what I would term operational control of our border. We should be able to know what's coming back and forth across our border. Nobody disagrees with that. And sensor technology is so cheap now, it's basically disposable. And that technology can tell the difference between a jackrabbit and a person coming across the border. And if that sensor gets triggered, you can deploy minimum the Border Patrol to do the one thing that only they can do. Interdiction, stopping this. We can do that today, and that is not the kind of technology that we are giving our men and women of Border Patrol to do their job about keeping us safe and securing our border. And again, it's a fraction of the cost of building a concrete structure that you can go over or dig under.
For me, the answer is not going to be walls or fences or physical barriers. It is going to be ensuring that our immigration laws match our reality, what our true needs are in this country, what our values are, and do so in keeping with the best traditions of Texas and this country.
Bipartisanship has become a
You
rare
missed
sight
me,
in
you
Washington,
fucking
but on
bullying
Tuesday,
bastards.
Mother Nature brought two Texas lawmakers together. Their flights back to D.C. were canceled because of the snow. So Representatives Will Hurd and Beto O'Rourke decided to take to the road to get back to work and talked policy and personal matters along the way.
And what I have found is that working with Republicans, being able to
They
not
tried
allow
to web
the
me,
perfect
but
to
I
become the enemy of
escaped
the good,
before they did it.
and just focus on making things better, you can make some progress.
And we can also disagree without being disagreeable. The competition of ideas is what has made this country great. It's what's made this experiment called America work. And way more unites us than divides us.
I think we can get a bigger car next time, bring a few more people with us.
The rhetoric around all of this, that is something that we can't let continue to happen.
When people in Mexico hear our president denigrate that country, vilify Mexicans, refer to Mexican immigrants as rapists and criminals, promise to build a 2,000-mile wall that will cost $30 billion, and say that Mexico is going to have to pay for it. Mexicans remind themselves that they have other potential partners around the globe.
Choose your house, your stuff packed up for Wednesday.
What?
We're gonna have to get
They are
into
deepening
house
trade
packed
relationships
up for
with
Wednesday.
others at our
In case
expense.
we have to
The rhetoric will come at a cost to our
prep out
country.
there for them.
We have to improve
In case we have any
our
prepping to
understanding
do out
of
there
an area
before they come.
that so many people talk about, but many people have never been and don't
He
understand.
said he doesn't need a lot of time.
But you just sit there and look at it go by mile by mile, and you're like, there's people that are crossing. How hard can it be?
It looks scalable.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's America.
Especially with the wide angle lens on, it looks even that much more intimidating. You gotta do it with the
It's
fisheye.
just taking shit off the shell.
I'm just curious
shell,
now. I'm just curious. I just want to see if
Putting it
it's...
in the bin, taking shit off my desk, putting it in the bin, fucking unplug all my fucking electrical equipment and fucking put all that in fucking bins and like get my TV ready.
Oh, there's nice little cup holder here for you too.
No, Mama, that all needs to be freaking somehow sanitized and wiped down before I can get all that taken. So that'll be a project of its own because
All right,
I don't
so
know
here's-
how bad the symbols are covered with dust
There's
or
Mexico.
freaking
There's the U.S.
spider webs in the
There's the wall. There's Border Patrol in the
garage
distance.
itself.
Not too
And
difficult.
then the stuff that's inside the bathroom downstairs in the basement, and in my the base room that's in my room. So it shouldn't be that hard. That stuff Dad can help me
Seeing
with.
people cross,
Yeah, I said can.
we were afraid and
Trying to
alarmed
your dad a little bit
and
rough too.
unsure of the situation.
Yeah.
And to realize that those
It's
people
not going to be
were also
moving.
alarmed.
He doesn't have to do any of the moving
afraid,
stuff. It's just
unsure of the
freaking
situation.
helping me clean stuff off. Like wiping,
And we
like
felt
tucking
that
my
feeling
cymbals
such a
down
small
and shit like
distance
that. I can
when we
freaking
saw
take care of
those
the
people
drums and
crossing.
stuff.
And it was stressful, it was tiring, and to feel that for years and years and years, it made me realize there's a bigger issue than the actual crossing into the country. If you think that someone was desperate enough to go from Guatemala to Austin, and you think they're just going to turn right around because they see a wall in front of them, that's absurd. That wanting a better life, that's the issue that needs to be approached.
You said you don't like the cheer. You like apple fritters? No?
Wait, it was the cherry turnovers he didn't like.
Preemptive blue, we're not there yet. Preemptive,
Critters
don't
are
let go
cool.
of the bump just yet.
Fritters are cool. I love fritters. Yum yum.
trying to learn. We've all
Done with this guy.
It's bittersweet. We become pretty close. I think it's gonna be like surreal to finally see the Gulf and at the same time like have a mix of emotions that like this is ending.
I'm gonna miss you guys.
Yeah.
I miss you too, babe. I thought that the border was just this desolate no man's land. But when I actually came out here, I despised the idea of a physical wall. And the reason I started to hate it is because this land, this country is damn beautiful.